Hi, I'm Hazel, and this is a guide to the bosses of the Shrine of the Storm dungeon of BFA. The Shrine of the Storm entrance is found here in Stormsong Valley. It's a damp, windy place where the line between octopi and old gods just starts blending together. The first boss is Akasur, and his platform borders the sea. If you go into the sea, you're not coming out, so be extra careful about knockbacks. This boss must have someone within melee range to punch, or else he starts ruining everyone's day with Sea Blast. Choking Brine is a dot that does moderate damage over 20 seconds. If it's dispelled, big swirls shoot out that apply Choking Brine to anyone that they hit. If you're going to dispel it, make sure that everyone is ready to dodge, or else you might just make it worse. He'll cast Surging Rush, and then charge and knock back anyone in the direction he's facing. When he starts the cast, look where he's facing and get out of the way. The tank should be ready to go pick him back up once he's done, before he gets lonely and starts sea blasting. Undertow does damage and pushes back one player over 6 seconds. Fight against the pushback if it's you, and healers should keep an eye on the target's health. At 50%, the boss casts Erupting Waters and splits into 3 adds. They all do everything that the boss did, so you'll get triple Surging Rush, Undertow, and Choking Brines. They'll also Sea Blast if no one's in melee of them, so have at least one person standing on each one. Focus them down one at a time, avoid dispelling Choking Brines, and try not to get knocked off. When all 3 die, the boss comes back at 15% health. On Heroic and higher, you'll also deal with Grasp from the Depths. That spawns tentacle adds that root and damage players. Turn and kill the tentacles to free your friends, and avoid dispelling Choking Brine while players are still rooted. The Tidesage Council is 2 bosses that don't share a health pool, so focus one down first. Starting with Galecolor Fae is generally a good idea. She casts Slicing Blast. That does damage and stacks up a nature damage taken buff over time. Kick it as often as you can, and healers should save cooldowns for later in the fight once it's stacked up. At 100% mana, Fae plants a Swiftness ward on the ground underneath Brother Ironhull. That grants 10% haste and movement speed along with immunity to movement impairers to both players and bosses within it. Drag the bosses out of that and you guys can stand in it. On Heroic and higher, Fae gets the Blessing of the Tempest, which causes interrupting her to spawn a blowback tornado. Chill on interrupts while she has that, and wait out the buff before you start kicking again. Brother Ironhull does a Hindering Cleave, which hurts and slows down anybody in this small frontal cone. Don't be in front of Ironhull unless you're a tank. At 100% mana, he drops a Reinforcing Ward under Galecolor Fae. That decreases damage taken by a lot and dispels harmful effects to anybody in it. Once again, get the bosses out of it ASAP and players can stand in it to benefit. On Heroic and higher, Ironhull will get the Blessing of Ironsides buff, which makes him slow but very scary. The tank should kite him around during this buff, and watch out for Swiftness wards, which will make him fast and very scary. Lord Stormsong is the 3rd boss. He spams Void Bolt on the tank for the whole fight, which does pretty heavy damage. Rotate kicks and cooldowns to help deal with that. Waken the Void spawns orbs next to each player. These will fixate and do an explode stun combo if they hit somebody. Kite them around and try not to pop them, you'll need them later. Ancient Mindbender slurps onto somebody for 20 seconds. You can still control your character, but you become attackable by the party. You need to be brought below half health before your 20 seconds is up, or else you get mind controlled for the rest of the fight. If it's on you, you want to run around into the orbs to clean them up and help damage the Mindbender off. The stun won't affect you, so everyone else can stand clear and you can gobble up all the orbs. The group can also help DPS you down if there aren't enough orbs or if you're running out of time. On Heroic and higher, there's also a Mind Rend debuff that goes out onto random players. That slows movement while doing damage. Healers can and should dispel that as soon as possible. It's hard to kite orbs when you're slow. Volzith the Whisperer is the final boss of this dungeon. Whispers of Power goes out onto a range starting with the healer. It stacks up a debuff that increases damage and healing done, but makes the target unable to be healed over 90% HP. At 2 stacks that becomes 80%, and so on up to 9 stacks and only 10% health available. Let it stack up as long as it's safe, and then dispel it once it gets risky. Yawning Gate spawns a huge damage zone under the boss. Tanks should pull the boss to the edge of the room or the edge of another gate to avoid blocking off too much space. Throughout the fight, Tentacle Spawn and Tentacle Slam for shadow damage. Keep an eye out for those, they hurt and they're also a bit tough to see. It's dark down here. At 100% energy, he'll cast Grasp of the Sunken City, which is a classic Old God add phase. The healer and tank get put in a phase with a Sunken Denizen, and the DPS get put in a separate phase with 2 Forgotten Denizens. The first group to finish their adds gets put into the second group's phase to help with theirs, and you resume the fight when all 3 adds are dead. You've got a breath bar ticking down this whole time, so if you're too slow, you all drown and die. The Sunken Denizen hits pretty hard and isn't very fast. Nuke it down and the tank can kite it around if it's too much. Forgotten Denizens cast Consume Essence, which is a huge, painful AoE lifesteal. Focus them down one at a time and use interrupts to stop that heal. On Heroic and higher, you'll also deal with Call of the Abyss. Add spawn around the edges of the room and move towards the boss, exploding for raid damage if they make it. Stun, slow, and kill them. So that should get you through Shrine of the Storm. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think, leave a like for me if this helped you out, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.